Hello everyone, I am Dr. Vibhash Kumar Vaid, and today in this video we'll discuss about the norma laterales. You can see here this is skull, and when we study from the lateral view of the skull, so this study is called norma lateralis. So let's see the norma lateralis. You can see here this is the lateral view of the skull, and when we study from this view, so this study is called norma lateralis, and bones seen in this norma lateralis are frontal bone, parietal bone, occipital bone, then temporal bone, sphenoid bone, zygomatic bone, mandible, maxilla, and part of the nasal bone. These are the bone which seen in this view. Now we'll discuss about the features of the norma lateralis. First feature is the temporal line. You can see here a line. This line is called temporal line. And this temporal line being start from the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. You can see here a process. This process is called zygomatic process of frontal bone. From here you can see a line is arise, and this line crosses frontal bone, coronal suture, parietal bone. When we trace anteriorly this line is fuse a single line, and when we trace posteriorly of this line over the parietal bone, this line is split and form a two line, superior and inferior. This superior one is called superior temporal line, which fade up posterior part of the parietal bone, while this inferior one is called inferior temporal line. When we trace posteriorly this inferior temporal line, it turns downward, forward, and continues with the supramastoid crest on the squamous temporal bone. This crest is continuous anteriorly with the posterior part of the root of the zygomatic arch. You can see here a arch. This arch is called zygomatic arch. Now we'll discuss about the zygomatic arch or zygoma. The zygomatic arch is a horizontal bar on the side of the head in the front of the ear. You can see here this arch is called zygomatic arch. The anterior 1/3 part of this zygomatic process is formed by the temporal process of zygomatic bone, and posterior 2/3 part is formed by the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. Now the zygomatico-temporal suture crosses the arch obliquely downward and backward. You can see here a suture which crosses this zygomatic process posteriorly and backward. This suture is called zygomatico-temporal suture. Now the above the zygomatic arch, you can see here a fossa. This fossa is called superior temporal fossa, and this superior temporal fossa is filled by the temporalis muscle. And the lower margin of the zygomatic arch, you can see here, this margin is called the lower margin of the zygomatic arch. Here we have attachment of the masseter muscle, and the contraction of the both temporalis and the masseter muscles may be felt by the clenching of the teeth. Lateral surface of the arch is subcutaneous, and the anterior or upper end of this zygomatic arch, this point is called jugal point, and the posterior end of the zygomatic arch, you can see here, this is the posterior end of the zygomatic arch is attached to the squamous part of the temporal bone. You can see here, this is the squamous part of the temporal bone by anterior and posterior root. You can see here, this is the anterior root of the posterior end of the zygomatic arch or root of the zygoma, and this one is called posterior root. You can see here a tubercle. This tubercle is called articular tubercle of the root of the zygoma, which lies on its lower border at the junction of the anterior and posterior root. You can see here, this root is called anterior root, and this one the posterior root. And in between the anterior and posterior root, you can see this tubercle is called articular tubercle. This anterior root which passes medially in the front of the articular fossa, while the posterior root, this root, and this posterior root passes backward along the lateral margin of the mandibular or articular fossa. And two projections are visible in relation to this root. One is articular tubercle at its lower border. Another tubercle is visible just behind the mandibular or articular fossa. You can see here, this fossa is called articular fossa, as just behind the articular fossa you can see here another tubercle, and this tubercle is called post-glenoid tubercle. So we have articular tubercle and post-glenoid tubercle. Now we'll discuss about the external acoustic meatus. Just behind to this zygomatic process or arch, you can see here this meatus is called external acoustic meatus, and this external acoustic meatus open just below the posterior part of the posterior root of the zygoma. This is the posterior root of the zygoma, and just below the posterior root of the zygoma, here the external acoustic meatus is open. Its anterior and inferior margin, you can see here, this is the anterior and inferior margin. So this anterior inferior margin and lower part of the posterior margin is formed by the tympanic plate. You can see here this plate is called the tympanic plate, and this tympanic plate is formed by anterior, inferior and lower part of this external acoustic meatus. And the posterior superior margin, you can see here, this is the posterior superior margin, and this posterior superior margin is formed by the squamous temporal bone. This is the squamous temporal bone which form the posterior superior part of the external acoustic meatus. These margins are roughed because here we have attachment of the auricular cartilage. Just behind to the external acoustic meatus, here a depression is present. This depression is called the suprameatal triangle or triangle of McVeigh. It is a small depression posterior superior to the meatus. It is situated posterior superior to this meatus, and it is bounded above by the supramastoid crest. You can see here this crest is called supramastoid crest, and this supramastoid crest which bounded superior part of this triangle, and in front by the posterior superior margin of the external acoustic meatus, and behind by a vertical tangent to the posterior margin of the meatus. You can see here a vertical tangent seen here. This tangent form the posterior boundary of this triangle. The suprameatal spine may be present on the anterior inferior margin of the triangle. Just anterior inferior margin of this triangle, you can see here a spine. This spine is called suprameatal spine. The triangle forms the lateral wall of the tympanic or mastoid antrum. So this is the suprameatal triangle or triangle of McVeigh. Now we'll discuss about the mastoid part of the temporal bone. You can see here, this is the mastoid part of the temporal bone. The mastoid part of the temporal bone lies behind the external acoustic meatus. You can see here, this is the external acoustic meatus, and just behind the external acoustic meatus you can see here a part. This part is called mastoid part of the temporal bone, and it is continuous anterior superiorly with the squamous part of temporal bone. So this mastoid part of the temporal bone which continues anterior superiorly and form squamous part of the temporal bone. The mastoid temporal bone is articulate posterior superiorly. This is the posterior superior margin of this mastoid temporal bone, and this posterior superior margin is articulate with the parietal bone by this suture, and this suture is called parieto-mastoid suture. This mastoid part of temporal bone posteriorly articulate with this bone by this suture, and this suture is called occipito-mastoid suture. You can see here the occipito-mastoid suture. Now these two sutures, occipito-mastoid and parieto-mastoid sutures, are mated with the lateral end of the lambdoid suture. You can see here, this is the lateral end of the lambdoid suture. Here this suture is called lambdoid suture, and the asterion is the point where the parieto-mastoid suture, occipito-mastoid suture and lambdoid suture are meet. So this point is called asterion. In the infant, the asterion is the site of the posterolateral or mastoid frontanel which close by 12 months of age. Now the mastoid process, you can see here, this process is called mastoid process. So this mastoid process is burst-like projection from the lower part of the mastoid temporal bone and posterior inferior to the external acoustic meatus. You can see here, just posterior inferior to this external acoustic meatus. Here a burst-like projection is present. So this burst-like projection is called mastoid process, and it appears during the second year of life. The tympanomastoid fissure is placed on the anterior aspect of the base of the mastoid process. You can see here, just anterior to this process, here you can see a fissure. This fissure is called tympanomastoid fissure. And the mastoid foramen lies at the near of the occipitomastoid suture. You can see here, this suture is called occipitomastoid suture, and just near to this occipitomastoid suture, this foramen is called mastoid foramen. Now we'll discuss about the styloid process. You can see here, deep to the mastoid process, here another process is present. This process is called styloid process, and this styloid process is needle-like, thin, long projection from the temporal bone seen in the norma visualis and situated anteromedial to the mastoid process, and it is directed downward, forward and slightly medially. Base is partially attached by the tympanic plate. You can see here the base of this styloid process is partially attached with this tympanic plate. So this is the styloid process. Now we'll discuss about the temporal fossa. You can see here, this fossa is called temporal fossa, and this temporal fossa situated above to this zygomatic arch. Now the boundaries of temporal fossa are above, it is bounded by the superior temporal line. You can see here, superiorly this temporal fossa is bounded by the superior temporal line, and below it is bounded by the zygomatic arch laterally, and by medially it is bounded by the infratemporal crust of the greater wing of the sphenoid. You can see here, this is the greater wing of the sphenoid, which form the medial boundary of the inferior part of the temporal fossa. Then you can see here a gap, and through this gap the superior temporal fossa is communicate with the inferior temporal fossa. Now you can see here, this wall is called anterior wall, and this anterior wall is formed by the posterior surface of the zygomatic bone and by some part of the frontal bone and sphenoid bone. So this is the anterior wall of the superior temporal fossa, and this anterior wall separate the fossa from the orbit. Now the floor, you can see here, this is the floor of the temporal fossa or superior temporal fossa. The anterior part of the floor is crossed by a H-shaped suture where the four bones are meet: frontal bone, parietal bone, greater wing of the sphenoid and temporal bone. These are the bones which meet at this point, and this point is called the pterion, and this pterion lies 4 cm above to the midpoint of the zygomatic arch. You can see here, this is the midpoint of the zygomatic arch, and from this midpoint of the zygomatic arch 4 cm above and 2.5 cm behind to the frontozygomatic suture. You can see here, this suture is called frontozygomatic suture. So this pterion is present 4 cm above to the midpoint of the zygomatic arch and 2.5 cm behind to the frontozygomatic suture. So this point is called pterion. And deep to the pterion lies the middle meningeal vein and anterior division of the middle meningeal artery and the stem of the lateral circles of the brain, and this point is called Sylvian point. So this is the temporal fossa. Now we'll discuss about some clinical importance. The pterion or anterolateral frontanel is a thin part of the skull. In roadside accident, the anterior division of middle meningeal artery may be ruptured, leading to clot formation between the skull bone and dura mater or extradural hemorrhage. The clot compresses the motor area of brain, leading to the paralysis of the opposite side. The clot must be sucked out at the earliest by the trachea. The head must be protected by a helmet. This is all about the norma lateralis. I hope all of you understood the topic. Thank you for watching.